Alright, let's just get right into it. This just dropped a few hours ago. Zack Snyder as well as HBO officially left a very small teaser, 30 seconds of footage that will show up in Justice League when it premieres on HBO Max in a couple years. It's not a lot. It's basically Diana and teasing Darkseid. We do get one image of Darkseid, but we don't really get much more than that. We're not even clear if he's going to be a big part of the story or how much of the League is going to be about them fighting one another, but we definitely know certain things will happen very differently than from the Justice League that we got with Joss Whedon. Steppenwolf was actually supposed to be in Suicide Squad, but they changed it and switched him out, and he looked very, very differently. The original version was much more monstrous, much more like a bestial character, and again, because Zack was doing it, it had a much more of a cohesive story. It was a lot more backstory, a lot more background. We had a lot more characters. So at this point, we can say certain things will probably happen. We're going to get Martian Manhunter. We're going to get Black Superman. We're going to get a lot more of Wonder Woman, much more of Aquaman, much more of Cyborg, much bigger detail about the stories and how they came together. We're also going to get sort of his version of the Flash, which we got teased in Batman versus Superman. And probably for me, the biggest thing was the ending with Lex and Batman, which just was insanely confusing. And I have to admit, I don't hate or love BVS as much as other people do. I'm sort of mixed on it. I definitely do think it's really big cinematic classic, but it has a lot of flaws. But one of the things, even with the Ultimate Edition, that I was still puzzling was the ending with Batman in terms of him doing that ding, 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 and being like, what is he doing? What is he talking about? And I'll admit, I laughed really hard when Ralph, the movie maker, did his little parody of it. But apparently this is all leading up to Darkseid, and that was a mother box. And so this little clip, even though it doesn't explain much, it explains a lot more of why things happen in Man of Steel and BVS. Because, again, originally, Zack planned a kind of 5-movie story, and BVS was a big middle chapter, but it was not telling the whole story. So we're definitely going to learn a lot more about Mad Max, Batman, the alternate future, what Lois's role is, and why things happened the way they did. But again, we can't say too much because this is just what it is. It's a little teaser. We just get a lot more of what we knew before, but it's definitely a big step forward because before we only had behind the scenes frames, a few photos, what he was able to give us and through his own account and what other people gave us. And originally this was through Jason Momoa, but Zack also dropped it. So it's definitely a coordinated effort to really raise the hype about Justice League, but I'm definitely sold. This is definitely going to be an incredible thing, whatever happens, whether it's going to be a miniseries or a full film. It's definitely, I think, something that both DCEU fans, even people who are not big fans of the DCEU, are going to be really interested in seeing what's going to happen. Because although I like Marvel just fine in the MCU, I do have to admit, except for a few places, it really doesn't have as much weight or the same kind of emotional stakes that a lot of DC films, I think, have been a little bit more successful. And I'm the first one to criticize the supposed quote, dark look of Zack Snyder, but I do think people are not being balanced and sort of seeing a lot of the joy and a lot of the emotional range of the characters. So there we are. It's a very small but interesting little clip, and hopefully I've done it in a way that evades, stays within fair use and evades any YouTube restrictions. I'd hate to kind of keep reposting this just to get the images, but hopefully the clip will stay on, and you can just play it back and look at it and enjoy it. All right, this has been Popcult Analyzed on a sneak look at the Justice League by Zack Snyder. Popcult Analyzed. If you like the content, please hit the like button and/or subscribe. Please be safe. Thank you for listening.